Hello and welcome. Welcome to the final term and the final project for this term. Last term we looked at JavaScript and how to add functionality to our web page. This term we'll be looking at the same thing, however we'll be creating buttons, adding size, text, color and different fonts. This will be used in conjunction with your engineering project where you've been asked to research different types of mechanisms. So what you will do, you'll create various buttons as you see in front of you of the different types of mechanisms. And what will happen when someone clicks on one of the buttons, it will display the definition of the button. This could be extended if we had more time to also incorporate pictures, but I think you will be kept busy with learning how to create the buttons and to add text to the buttons. In order to create our buttons, we need to create an HTML document. So we have our HTML document here and we can give it a title, Mechanisms. Okay, so we give it a title, Mechanisms. Then we have some CSS tags. Okay, so information within the CSS tags. So style, you have an opening tag style and a closing tag style. So within the tags, you'll put all the information for the button. Okay, so this is where we actually write how we want the attributes for our button. We will write here the size of the button, the text for the button, the color for the button, anything to do with the button, we'll write in within the styles. Okay, so within here, we've given our button a name called info button. We're saying that we want the button to have a width of 150 and a height of 150. Later on, we'll write some text in here to actually add some color and some font style. But for instance, for now, we'll just start with the basis of our button. So what we have to do, tell the web page as well, that we are actually creating a button. So the definition for a button in HTML is actually the word button. So we're saying input type. So the input type that we're going to use will be a button, and we're going to put the value, which is the text that's going to be displayed on the button, is going to be levers and linkages. Okay, so and within that we're saying that when someone clicks on it, on click we want it to go to a function called levers info. Okay, and as you can see, we've given the ID for the button as info button. So this info button we've placed within the styles here will refer to the info button here, so the type of button that we're actually doing, and when we're actually creating or doing any attributes for the button. So here at the moment we'll display two buttons. Okay, so we've got two buttons at the moment. So we've got another button called cam mechanisms, and when it's clicked as well, it will go to another its own function called cam info. So let's just see what this code does before we actually start to build the functionality of our button. So first of all, if you remember, you have to go File, you go Save As. We'll look for the folder where we want to store our work, or we can just store it wherever we want to store it. It might be the first place you want to store it when you just click File, Save As. So I'm going to store mine in a folder called Mechanisms. Give your work a name. So I'm going to give it, probably we can just call it M buttons for mechanism buttons, M buttons. The key thing you need to do here is actually use the word .html. So it's .html. This will tell the computer that the document type we're using is HTML, and also it will differentiate between using a text file. So what we need to do here, when it says save as file as type, you need to click here, all files. So these are the procedures you need to do in order to save your document as a HTML document and for it to be displayed in your browser. So I've got mbutton.html, all files. So what I'm going to do now is save. What we can do is locate our button, our HTML document we just created. Okay, so you can see mine's here, says M button. Okay, if you did not say .html, it would say that it wouldn't actually change to your web browser. It will just be a text file. So what I'm going to do here now is double click on this, or what you could do is right click and say open with and choose your internet provider. I'm going to choose myself Microsoft Edge, which is basically Internet Explorer. Okay, so you can see the two buttons we've just created, linkage and cam mechanism. Okay, so let's go back to build up our buttons. We can now open our mechanism button web page by right clicking, select open with, and then we want to edit it, so we're going to open with Notepad. Okay, so what we're going to do is add some functionality to our buttons. So in order to add some functionality to our buttons, we have to now create some JavaScript. So what we do, we use the tag script, so we have an opening tag and a closing tag. And what we're going to do is create some functions. So if you remember that we've created a button, we've put some values on the button that says lever and linkages, and we said when someone clicks on it, it will fire up a function called levers info. So it's on clicked, levers info will be fired up. Okay, so now I've created a function called levers info. You need to ensure, a key thing you need to remember is the name you've given the function lever information info here needs to be the same name that you specified on click. If you don't, then obviously when you click on it, nothing will happen. So what happens here is that we've created an alert box. So when someone clicks on it, they will actually be displayed the definition of what a lever is. Okay, so you need to do that for yourselves, and you have to do that for every single button you have here. So what I'm going to do as well is create myself, maybe you may want to create yourselves another one for cams mechanism. So I'm going to create a cams mechanism function here. Okay, so all I'm going to do is copy and paste this one. So copy, Control V. However, you also need to make sure that you give it the name of the function you specified here when you said that someone clicks on it. So here I have to now change that to cam info. Okay, so I go cam. So if it's lowercase, uppercase, you need to follow exactly the same way as you've specified on the input button tab. I can't stop reiterating that, because obviously some people say it doesn't work, and that's because they haven't defined or specified the name the same way they specified it on click. Here I'm just going to put some text, because obviously that's where your research is going to come in. So alright, so I'm going to say I'm not going to really put anything here. I'm just going to put some, you would research what a cam is and place some information here. Okay, alright, I'm just going to put a cam, and then you just, for yourselves, you will put the definition for cam, because that's part of your research. I'm only basically showing you how to create the buttons. So what we do here, once we've saved our document, we don't continually have to go save as. Once we've saved it once and specify the file name, all we can do is just go file and then save. We can now locate this document and click on it and make sure that what we've just created actually works. So if we go to mechanisms, I can double click on mine, and if I click on levers and linkages, you can see it displays alert button that tells me levers and linkages. Basically, a lever is a rigid bar resting on a pivot, so on and so forth. And I can click on OK. I can also click on the cam mechanism, and obviously all I just put in there was cam, so I didn't put anything. That's for you to actually fill out for yourselves. Okay, so you can see how that works. So let's add a few more buttons and some color. Open up our web page again, a HTML document. So we'll right click, open with Notepad. Okay, so what we're required to do is research 3 types of mechanisms. Okay, so therefore you should have 3 buttons. Okay, as alongside that, you were asked to create to research also 3 materials. So we can change our title here, which says mechanisms, and write and materials. Okay, so our research is on mechanisms and materials. Okay, so therefore we can also create 3 different buttons for our materials. So I'm only going to create 2 more, and you can add the other 2 for yourself. So copy, I'm just going to copy the document here, Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just paste it here for our other 2 buttons, which obviously you're going to have 3 for yourselves. Okay, I'll just add another one. It'll probably make it more easier for us to do. Just add 3. Okay, so we've got now 6 buttons.